Well, India has come in for high praise from the global anti-terror financing and money laundering watchdog, the Financial Action Task Force, or the FATF, in its latest assessment of measures put in place by the nation to fight terrorism and terror financing. It has put India in the regular follow-up category, which is its highest rating when it comes to combating terror financing. Here's more. India has borne the brunt of terrorism and terror financing through money laundering for decades. It's come up with watertight measures to counter such security and financial threats. Now, the global anti-terror financing and money laundering watchdog, the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF, has lauded India's efforts to implement measures to tackle illicit finance, including money laundering and terror funding. In its latest mutual evaluation report for India, the FATF has said that India has achieved a high level of technical compliance across all 40 FATF recommendations.
Continuously, India has been working on various issues and bringing out reports which reflect India's stance towards prevention of money laundering. So we have 8 reports of special investigation team which was set out on black money right from 2014 till 2022. We did a risk trends and methods report in 2019 which highlighted various areas of risk. Then we published a national risk assessment in 2022. And then there have been series of risk assessments which are sectoral. Like we did a risk assessment of the virtual asset sector. And then the virtual asset sector was brought into regulation as part of the risk assessment exercise.
According to a joint FATF APG-EAG assessment, India's anti-money laundering and counter-terror financing framework is achieving good results. Authorities make good use of financial intelligence and cooperate effectively both domestically and internationally. India is now placed in regular follow-up category, which is the highest FATF rating. UK, France and Italy are the only other G20 nations which are in the same league. India has taken significant steps in financial inclusion. It has more than doubled the proportion of its population with bank accounts. It has also encouraged greater reliance on digital payment systems. These efforts support financial transparency, which adds to AML/CFT efforts. Indian authorities cooperate and coordinate effectively over AML/CFT matters. Cooperation levels are despite the size and institutional complexity of India's financial system. India has also achieved positive results in international cooperation and asset recovery. India has positive results in implementing targeted financial sanctions for proliferation financing. There is good understanding of risk and application of preventive measures in India's financial sector, especially among commercial banks. Indian authorities also have a comprehensive understanding of money laundering, terrorism and proliferation financial risks. And Indian authorities need to do more to share insights on risks across all relevant stakeholders.
देखिए, इस बार जो FATF ने हमारी इवैल्यूएशन करके जो रिपोर्ट दिया है उसमें भारत के प्रयासों की बहुत सराहना की गई है। इस तरह की सराहना कई बड़े डेवलप्ड देशों की भी नहीं हुई है जिस तरह से हमारी FATF की रिपोर्ट में भारत की गई है। इसमें प्रमुखता उन्होंने ED और NIA के कार्यों की सराहना की है।
But the FATF's assessment also warns that India faces serious terrorism and terror financing threats, including those related to Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. It also needs to focus on wrapping up prosecutions and convict and appropriately sanction terrorist financiers. Gautam Roy, DD India. And let's now take you across to our first guest of the evening, Vivek Agarwal, Additional Secretary, Department of Revenue, Ministry of Finance, joins us now. Mr. Agarwal, good evening to you, and thank you for joining us. And tell us, this sort of an upgrade of India, where FATF assessment has come about. What kind of efforts have gone behind it through the last couple of decades, really, ever since, in fact, India joined the FATF?
Good evening, Gautam. Thank you for having me over in your program. In fact, the commitment of Government of India in the last decade for rooting out black money and rooting out issues which are faced because of a cash-based economy have really yielded results, and that is what FATF has commended as India's great achievement. If you see Indian leadership decided from 2014 onwards to tackle the menace of black money by setting up SIT, and SIT reports were implemented. Indian government made sure that 5 lakh shell companies were struck off from the register of companies. And over a period of time, the steps taken for digitization of Indian economy and digitization of payments have resulted in a huge transparency that has come up in all the financial transactions and their transactions visibility to the authorities. Similarly, implementation of GST, setting up of I4C, setting up a very sophisticated financial intelligence system under FIU. All these steps have resulted in an economy which is a very, very open and transparent economy. And this report of FATF has also highlighted the credibility of Indian institutions, both law enforcement agencies as well as the regulators which are regulating the financial markets. So this is a great achievement for the country, and this speaks very high of Indian government's whole of government approach to tackle money laundering and terror financing as a proper policy of the government.
And there are areas where the FATF has said that India needs to do some more as well in terms of prosecutions, and also what sort of progression path do we have identified over there?
So it's actually work in progress. We are already doing things which have come as recommendations also. If we see the issue of getting the trials concluded, both for money laundering and terror financing, is being tackled after the Government of India has brought in the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita, which has come up and which is now implemented since July. So with the implementation of the new code, it is certain that the time taken for trials will come down. India has set up special courts, so we are also pursuing to have more prosecutors in place and to ensure that the capacities of the courts are getting enhanced, and the procedural delays that were there have been now sorted out, and the use of technology both for investigation as well as for presenting evidence before courts is now being made a part of the prosecution process under the new BNSS. So with the changes that are already coming up, we are very sure that we will be actually taking all the measures required to make our system more and more effective. And it is extremely important as India is growing very fast. So sustaining India's growth also needs a very robust financial security system that we have set up, and we are further strengthening as we move ahead.
Wonderful. And you mentioned the digitization of the economy, the way that has really come into its own as far as the post-COVID scenario is concerned. But still, do you think that the FATF report seems to mention it as well, that cash still has a bit of a role that remains a concern, especially where gems and jewelry is concerned, and even perhaps virtual digital currencies?
So we are aware of the challenge that we have on certain issues which are related to designated non-financial businesses and professions, which includes the dealers in precious metals and stones and gems and jewelry sector, as well as the real estate agents. So in the last 2 years, we have brought the regulation in place. We are taking the industry into confidence. We are making sure that the regulatory framework becomes applicable without stifling the industry. So far as the cyber security is concerned and issues of virtual assets is concerned, in March 2023, we have brought the virtual asset service providers under the anti-money laundering and counter-terror financing regulatory framework. We are now having full visibility of transactions where virtual assets are hitting Indian rupee or Indian economy. There are certain areas of concern which we are now working with the international bodies, including other jurisdictions, to make sure that the system of travel rule, that is the full visibility of transaction right from the sender to the receiver, is there even for crypto transactions. That should become applicable across the globe. So India is playing a very active role. And this report of FATF is actually placing India into a leadership position where we are able to demonstrate our own effective systems and also exhort and lead other jurisdictions and other countries, including the developed world, to follow India's example and to bring the regulation in a way that the possibility of cross-border money laundering and terror financing is also controlled and eliminated.
And we'll be getting into the details of this report that has come, but just to mention it briefly, India has now jumped to the tier 1 of the Global Cybersecurity Index 2024. That's happened today, Mr. Agarwal. Now, is there a cybersecurity dimension, a dark web dimension to getting a control and a complete, in fact, tabs on money laundering as well? And what sort of progress are we making there?
So cyber frauds and the fintech are closely related. So far as the fintech industry is concerned in India, it's actually our pride. But we are making sure that as more and more fintech is growing and more products are coming in, we also focus on the security aspect of these products. So along with RBI, we have created a sandbox environment where all the new products which are coming on the fintech platforms, they are being tested and the security features are being built in, and the regulatory framework of the full KYC and customer due diligence for all the clients that onboard to these fintech platforms has been implemented, and the travel rule has been implemented. So far as the regulatory regime is concerned, that is now fully implemented. Of course, there are issues which come on day-to-day basis where there are frauds which happen by manipulating the system. There, Government of India has set up the I4C mechanism where just as soon as the complaint is received, there is a lien placed on the account in which the money is transferred, and FIU and banks then act in tandem to recover that money and restore the money to the victim or restore the proceeds to the victim. So this entire chain of activity, which starts with a proper regulatory framework and security features for fintech products, to having a system where we have quick response for any fraud that happens, has been put in place. And we hope to go ahead without, again, as I said, without stifling the progress of the industry and without leaving a leadership role in fintech, but ensuring that more and more safety features are built in as part of the growth process itself.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us and talking about it this evening. Vivek Agarwal, Additional Secretary, Department of Review, Ministry of Finance of the Government of India. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.